I was originally gonna title this video something negative, like, oh,
Don't watch this Fantastic Four movie, it's awful.
or whatever, like purely from an objective stance. But when I went to actually, go watch the movie itself, I realized, this is a sausage fest of just what the hell. There's a lot of things I'll get into later, but the main thing is that the first thing I noticed was that it was never publicly released in theaters. The only way you're able to see it is like from like some black market. I once watched it on YouTube, but just the movie itself was not released publicly at all, and DVDs and stuff were just not available. The only things that were available were like bootleg VHSs, but that's just kind of the thing for Marvel movies in the 90s. Not a lot of them, there weren't a lot of them, but the few ones that there were not really that good. The Punisher with the guy that played Ivan Drago, and Captain America. The Captain America one was bad, I'll be blunt and say it, but the Punisher one was good. The Fantastic Four themselves has I think like 4 movies by this point. This one, the two, ones with Chris Evans, that's the Human Torch, and the new one with Michael B. Jordan, also as the Human Torch. And that one was horrible because it was boring and just a whole lot of just sappy, soapy shit that was just not entertaining to watch. They never actually wore their Fantastic Four suits. However, this one made in 1994, I can say with full-heartedly, is anything but boring. The movie basically starts out with Victor and Reed in a class together, and they're working on a way to harness energy, and this is very fast-paced since they're trying to cram a whole lot in an hour and a half. Basically, 5 minutes later, they're already testing it, and Reed recognizes that something is wrong, and they want to, test it, put in some new numbers, but Victor's like, no, we're doing this now. And it ends horribly with Victor being fried to shit and presumed dead. And after that, Reed and his friend Ben continue on his work and legacy, and the time skip happens with them meeting Susan and Johnny, which helps them form the team. And funnily enough, this is how they get the name of Fantastic Four, just by their mother licking them like,
You, the Fantastic Four.
they look at a group of guys and said, let's get him. And then a spinning circle just appears, and then everybody's just knocked out. And then they go and confront Doom, pretending to be the guards. And Ben says the classic line, it's clobber in time. I know, I said it was such manly, masculinely, testosterone-ish. And then action happens, and after the action, they retreat back to their homes. But Ben's like, I'm a freak, I'll never be able to live a normal life, and ends up being found by the Mole Man, or at least one of his accomplices, and starts living with him. And starts living with him in more just like 5 minutes. But he meets Alicia Masters and Victor and has to retreat back home because for some reason his powers just deactivate when Doom appears and then literally come back again like 30 seconds later. And in a matter of 10 minutes, they meet up, go to Doom's space, defeat him, and then Susan and Reed get married. And I kid you not, they had literally zero chemistry up to this point. So it makes zero sense as to why they would be together. You want to know what makes this even weirder? It seems that in the movie, Reed and Susan seem to have like an age gap because it looks like Reed is in college and Susan's like just reaching teenagers years. And I even googled this just to make sure, like, is this like in the comics? And yeah, apparently there's like a 10-year difference. So like when Reed was in college, she was still like in middle school basically. But another factor as to why I think this is genuinely a good movie, at least a good Fantastic movie, is the fact that it's surprisingly accurate to the comics. Like, almost beat for beat, it's just copied straight from the page, made by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Like, Doctor Doom himself is quite fantastic. Pun not intended / intended, either way. This is probably the most accurate adaptation we've ever had of this character within a Fantastic Four movie. Just because I think it's the greatest Fantastic Four movie doesn't automatically make it a good movie in its own right. The movie's bad, as you can clearly see. The script is not great, the acting could be better, and the effects are noticeably bad, but it's still good enough to the point where it's enjoyable, especially because, like I said, it's bad, so it's funny. Like, so bad it's good, kind of bad. And sometimes the screens will just have like background music or effects that just straight up make the movie look like it's a horror movie, which I guarantee it wasn't intended to. And a good part as to why the movie might just look bad outright is due to the fact that the budget for this movie was stretched so thin. Like, the movie only had $1 million, which is horrible and horrendous. The only movies that have known to do that are maybe Terrifier 2 and Terrifier 1, but those obviously put all their effects and budget into like practical gore and stuff like that. But this movie was made solely for the purpose of keeping the rights to the franchise, so this had a budget of like basically nothing. And Stanley himself on set was like, wow, what is going on here? This is abominable. It should have never been seen by the human eyes. Like, this is terrible. And so, like, literally right before it was released to the public, it had all the trailers, the TV spots, promotion, and all that. Right as before it to come out, the person that owned the rights were like, you know what? I take it back. I don't want you to release this movie. Have a good day. And basically just paid off the guy that gave the script. And so the movie was never released, since he was paid it off just not to. There's no real reason, just he didn't feel like it. So the movie was never released out in public, even after all like the publicity that it was getting. But, you know, even though that the film had all of its faults and everything involved with it was just horrible, the movie itself is still like, you can't have a bad time watching it without a doubt. So if you genuinely do want to watch this movie, I strongly recommend it. Don't go into it trying to find some record-breaking, Oscar-worthy performance. Just go into expecting a bad movie, and I guarantee you will have a good time. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to have a good day.